Nora and Ethan's day turned upside down with a single phone call. The voice on the other end, a lawyer, revealed something unbelievable. Their elderly neighbor had passed away and left his wealth to their young daughter, Daisy. Stunned and mostly confused, Nora and Ethan looked at Daisy, who was playing outside. Why would their neighbor do something like that? But when they asked Daisy about their elderly neighbor, she said something neither of them saw coming. But before we start, smash the like button, subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so you never miss any of our upcoming stories. Are you sure he mentioned Daisy in his will? Our Daisy? He doesn't have a grandchild that has the same name? Nora asked the lawyer confusedly. She couldn't believe their elderly neighbor would do something like that. They never had a lot of contact with Mr. Connor. Sure, they greeted each other on the street, but nothing more than that. It's written here clearly, the lawyer answered. I, Corey Connor, leave my wealth to little Daisy Dixon, he quoted. Ethan almost dropped the phone. His entire wealth? He asked with a tremor in his voice. He didn't know how to act. Their little girl would grow up without ever having to worry about money, and all because of the kindness of their neighbor. Nora and Ethan stared into the abyss for a little while after hanging up the phone. The lawyer said he would be coming over tomorrow to read through the entire will and specify what exactly Daisy had inherited. Suddenly, their daughter ran into the house, looking stressed and confused. Where is Coco? She asked confusedly. Nora and Ethan sighed. They still had to explain to their daughter that Mr. Connor had passed away. Every morning, Daisy would play outside while Nora made breakfast. Like clockwork, around 9 o'clock, Mr. Connor would walk down his driveway to pick up the newspaper and greet Daisy kindly. It was never more than a smile or a soft hello, but Daisy always seemed to look forward to it. However, Mr. Connor had passed away late last night. Daisy, sweetie, we have to tell you something, Ethan kindly said. He crouched down on the ground and placed his hand on his daughter's arm. Mr. Connor will not be around anymore, he slowly began. Daisy frowned playfully, not really understanding what her father was saying. You know how Grandma has gone to heaven? Mr. Connor lives there now, too. Suddenly, it seemed to click and Daisy fell silent. Nora could just see her daughter processing the information. She felt useless as she knew she couldn't help her daughter in this situation. She had to feel these grown-up emotions all by herself. She crouched down on the ground next to her husband in case Daisy needed a hug, but Daisy did something totally unexpected. Instead of hugging her mother or father, Daisy ran back outside. Ethan wanted to run after her, but Nora held him back. Leave her for a second. We can watch her through the kitchen window, she said as she pulled him toward the kitchen. But as they looked through the window, they realized she wasn't in the front yard anymore. Suddenly, it seemed like time slowed down. They ran outside into the front yard and screamed Daisy's name. Ethan ran into the street, and Nora ran around their house, but it was like she had gone up in smoke. They met in the front yard again, both out of breath and panic written all over their faces. Where had she gone? Nora ordered Ethan to call the police while she searched the yard again. She looked in all Daisy's favorite hiding spots. From the treehouse to a big bush, no stone stayed unturned. When Nora realized Daisy really wasn't in their yard anymore, she ran inside, tears streaming down her face. Ethan opened his arms as he saw his wife, and Nora hugged him tightly. The police are on their way, he said as he kissed the top of her head. Nora was now fully sobbing, unable to get any words out. Mommy? A tiny voice suddenly said. Nora whipped around and saw Daisy standing in the doorway. She fell to her knees and hugged her child as if she would never let her go again. Where were you? After the emotional reunion, Ethan and Nora sat down with Daisy, their hearts heavy with worry. They gently asked her where she had been, hoping she would open up. Yet Daisy's eyes wandered and her lips remained sealed tight. Sensing her discomfort, her parents exchanged a look of understanding and chose not to press further. Later, in the quiet of their living room, Ethan and Nora faced a tough choice. Concern for Daisy's safety weighed on them, leading to a unanimous decision to keep the doors locked and limit Daisy's outdoor playtime. Guilt gnawed at them for taking away her freedom, yet the fear of losing her again overshadowed everything else. Discussing their decision, Ethan and Nora couldn't help but feel they were imposing too much on Daisy. It's for the best, Ethan murmured, trying to convince himself as much as Nora. They knew the importance of keeping Daisy safe, yet the thought of restricting her playful spirit felt like a betrayal of childhood itself. Daisy, sensing the shift in her parents' demeanor and the new rules set in place, felt a sting of sadness. The outdoors was her world, a place of endless adventure and joy. Confusion clouded her young mind as she tried to grasp why her sanctuary was now beyond reach. She looked up at her parents with wide, questioning eyes, a silent plea for understanding mingling with her disappointment. That evening, the house felt different, smaller, somehow, as if the walls had inched closer. Ethan and Nora put on brave faces, determined to fill the indoor space with laughter and love. They orchestrated a series of indoor games, crafting sessions, and story readings, anything to keep Daisy's spirits up. As the day drew to a close, Ethan and Nora tucked Daisy into bed, surrounding her with her favorite bedtime stories. They took turns reading, voicing characters with exaggerated enthusiasm, trying to spark Daisy's imagination, but all she asked for was Mr. Connor. Nora and Ethan didn't know what to do. Why was their daughter so obsessed with him? With Daisy asleep, Ethan and Nora sat together in the quiet of the night, their thoughts heavy with the day's events. They shared their fears and hopes, the conversation a mix of concern for Daisy's well-being and optimism for brighter days. Tomorrow will be better, Nora whispered, a promise to themselves as much as to Daisy. They held on to hope, a beacon in the uncertainty that surrounded them. Nora tossed and turned, the darkness of the night mirroring the turmoil in her thoughts. Questions about Mr. Connor's will consumed her, swirling around what it all meant for Daisy. The generosity was baffling, the intention unclear. Why Daisy? What did Mr. Connor see in their little girl that compelled such a significant gesture? Sleep remained elusive as Nora grappled with these questions, seeking answers in the shadows. The morning brought no relief, only the hustle of another day. In a brief moment of distraction, with breakfast on the stove and her mind still on Mr. Connor's mysterious will, Nora lost track of Daisy. The usual morning chatter was absent, replaced by an unsettling silence that crept into the corners of the kitchen. Realization, it was the open door that caught Nora's eye, a silent testament to Daisy's absence. Daisy? She called out, her voice echoing unanswered. A chill ran through her as the reality set in. Daisy was gone again. The peace of the morning shattered, giving way to a familiar wave of panic that tightened around her heart like a vice. Ethan. Nora's voice cracked as she called for her husband, her feet already moving. Nora's words tumbled out in a rush. She's gone, Daisy's gone again. Together they scoured the house, desperation fueling their search. Daisy's name filled the air, a plea for her to appear from her hiding spot, but silence was the only reply. Each empty room they checked marked another heartbeat of fear. Not again, Nora cried hopelessly in Ethan's arms. Amidst the chaos, an unexpected sound cut through the doorbell. Ethan raced to answer it, his mind racing with possibilities. Could it be Daisy? Had someone found her? Instead, he found the lawyer on their doorstep, briefcase in hand, ready to discuss Mr. Connor's will. The timing couldn't have been worse, yet there he stood, unaware of the storm brewing inside the house. As Ethan opened the door to the lawyer, the urgency of the moment was palpable. Quickly realizing the gravity of the situation, the lawyer's initial purpose faded into the background. Daisy's missing, Ethan explained, the strain evident in his voice. The lawyer, taken aback, set aside his professional intentions, his expression shifting to one of concern. Let's find her first, he said, understanding that all else could wait. Inside, Nora, still grappling with disbelief and fear, joined the conversation. The lawyer, Ethan, and Nora formed a makeshift search team in an instant. The will, a document of supposed importance just moments ago, was now the furthest thing from their minds. We'll cover more ground together, the lawyer suggested, ready to step into the unfamiliar role of a searcher, driven by a shared urgency to find Daisy. The trio split up, each taking a different direction through the neighborhood. They asked everyone they encountered, showing Daisy's photo and describing her last known outfit. The neighborhood, usually a quiet backdrop to their daily lives, had transformed into a vast maze of potential hiding spots. Each nook and cranny held the possibility of concealing or revealing Daisy's whereabouts. As time ticked on without a sign of Daisy, Ethan and Nora's worry turned into a heavy blanket of dread. Each returned to the house at intervals, hoping the others had found her, only to be met with shaking heads. The silence of their home, usually filled with Daisy's laughter, now echoed their deepest fears. We need to do more, Nora whispered, feeling the weight of each passing moment. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm them, the lawyer, while checking around Mr. Connor's property, noticed something out of place. He quickly called Ethan and Nora, urging them to come over. There's something here you need to see, he said, a note of cautious optimism in his voice. As they hurried over, hearts pounding, the possibility of finding Daisy sparked a flicker of hope in the story of their worry. The trio, filled with a mix of hope and apprehension, approached Mr. Connor's house. The sight of the back door, slightly ajar, sent a ripple of tension through them. With cautious steps they entered, the creak of the door echoing a silent alarm. Each step was measured, a balance of eagerness and fear, as they ventured into the unknown, eyes scanning for any sign of Daisy. As they moved through Mr. Connor's home, it struck them how the place felt both alien and familiar. The walls, adorned with pictures and mementos, told stories of a lived well-lived. They called out for Daisy, their voices bouncing off the silent spaces as they searched each room. The house, usually warm and welcoming, now held the suspense of their search, every corner a question. Their search led them to the living room, where the unexpected sight of Daisy playing quietly on the floor with two stuffed animal horses greeted them. The scene, so normal yet so extraordinary under the circumstances, paused time itself. Daisy looked up, her innocent gaze breaking the tension and filling the room with a sudden burst of light. Nora, her heart leaping, rushed to Daisy, scooping her into her arms. Tears of relief and joy mingled as she held her daughter close, the fear and worry of the last hours melting away. Ethan and the lawyer shared a look of profound relief, the weight of the world lifting from their shoulders. In a comforting embrace, the family found peace, thankful to the lawyer for his help during their crisis. As they quietly walked home, they felt deep gratitude for having Daisy back, and their house felt like a safe haven again. At home, Daisy's sudden tears and questions about Mr. Connor surprised Ethan and Nora, revealing a side of her they hadn't known. Seeing Daisy upset, the lawyer kindly offered to bring back her stuffed horses, a small gesture that eased her sadness. With the toys in her arms, Daisy calmed down, leaving Ethan and Nora both relieved and curious about the hidden stories behind her special bond with Mr. Connor. As night fell, Daisy's calm brought some peace, but Ethan and Nora were left with many questions. They wondered how Daisy had grown so close to Mr. Connor, a neighbor they barely knew. Realizing they needed to understand more, they planned a gentle conversation with Daisy. They wanted her to feel safe sharing her memories of him. Sitting together, they asked about her time with Mr. Connor. Slowly, Daisy opened up, telling them about cookies, stories, and the fun they shared. Ethan and Nora felt uneasy, realizing they hadn't noticed this growing friendship. As Daisy spoke, they saw how important Mr. Connor was to her. By the end, they understood how meaningful this bond was and knew they needed to honor it. Daisy's stories of Mr. Connor's garden showed Ethan and Nora his kindness and patience. They felt grateful for the special bond he shared with Daisy. The lawyer then gave them a letter from Mr. Connor, expressing his love for Daisy and how much joy she brought him. Through his words, Ethan and Nora realized how deeply their friendship had mattered. Wanting to honor him, they considered planting a tree or starting a book club in his name. As they shared memories, Ethan, Nora, and Daisy began to heal, embracing Mr. Connor's memory with warmth. At dawn, they reflected on his letter, feeling comforted by his love for Daisy and the role he played in her life. Inspired, they planned a garden memorial and thought about using his inheritance for Daisy's education and local charities he cared about. That evening, they taught Daisy about kindness and giving back, hoping to carry on Mr. Connor's spirit. Looking ahead, they felt hopeful, determined to honor him through their actions and secure Daisy's future, just as he wished. Inspired by Mr. Connor's love for the community, Ethan and Nora decided to honor his legacy by donating to the library and starting a community garden. Ethan hoped it would be a place where neighbors could connect, just as Mr. Connor had connected with them. One night, they told Daisy about Mr. Connor's kindness and how it continues to help others, hoping she would always remember the power of giving. Reflecting on the past weeks, they realized how much his generosity had changed their lives, leaving them with lasting lessons of compassion. As spring arrived, the family stood in their garden, feeling connected to Mr. Connor and ready to carry his kindness forward. Thank you for watching. If you like this story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscription, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming stories.